Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge watching the strange ship on his main screen. The vessel looked wrong somehow. Where Zilanian ships were smooth and curved like flowing water, this one was all sharp angles and hard edges. It looked like it was built to hurt things. "Sir, we're getting a response to our greeting signal," said his communications officer Yelana. Her voice was tight with worry. "Put it through," Vextar ordered. The main screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was clearly alien, hairless except for some fur above the eyes with small eyes and strange flat teeth. But what made Vextar's skin crawl was how calm the creature looked. 12 Zilanian ships surrounded it, and it didn't seem worried at all. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Iron Wolf," the alien said. The translator worked, but the words felt harsh and clipped. "We come in peace. Please identify yourselves." Vextar cleared his throat. "I am Commander Vextar of the Zilanian Confederation. Welcome to our space. We have not seen ships like yours before." Captain Morrison smiled, showing those flat white teeth. "We're new to this part of the galaxy. We're explorers from a planet called Earth. We're always happy to meet new friends." The word friends should have been comforting, but something about how the humans said it made Vextar nervous. He looked at his science officer, Cathari, who was staring at her instruments with wide eyes. "Sir," Cathari whispered, "the energy readings from their ship, they don't make sense." "What do you mean?" Vextar asked quietly. "Their power core is putting out more energy than our entire fleet combined. That much power should tear their ship apart, but look at it, it's perfectly stable." Vextar looked back at the human ship. It hung in space like a sleeping predator. "How is that possible?" "I don't know, sir. Their technology is beyond anything we've seen." On the screen, Captain Morrison was still talking. "We'd be honored to share information about our cultures. Perhaps some of your people could visit our ship, and some of ours could visit yours." The idea of having these strange, calm creatures on his ship made Vextar's stomach turn. But refusing would be against everything the Confederation stood for. They were a peaceful people. They welcomed all visitors. "Of course," Vextar said, "we would be pleased to learn about your people." "Excellent," Morrison said. "I'll send over my first officer, Lisa Carter, and a small diplomatic team. Will that work for you?" "Yes, that will be fine." The screen went dark. Vextar sat in his command chair, trying to understand why he felt so afraid. The humans had been polite. They had followed proper first contact rules. They said they came in peace. So why did his hands shake when he thought about them? "Sir," said his tactical officer Rendell, "should I keep our weapons ready?" "Weapons?" Vextar was shocked. "They're peaceful visitors." "I know, sir, but—" Rendell looked at his screen. "Their ship has weapon systems I can't even identify. And the armor, it looks like it can change and adapt. I've never seen anything like it." Vextar stared at the human ship again. It really did look dangerous. Every line and curve seemed designed for war. Surely they're just differently designed. Not all species think the same way we do. "Yes, sir," Rendell said. But he didn't sound convinced. 20 minutes later, a small shuttle left the human ship. It was just as angular and threatening as the main vessel. As it approached the Harmony's edge, Vextar watched it move. Even the shuttle flew like a weapon, quick and precise. "They're requesting permission to dock," Yelana reported. "Grant it," Vextar said, "and send a welcoming party to meet them." The shuttle docked with barely a sound. Vextar had expected some bumping or scraping. Docking was always tricky between different ship designs. But the humans had done it perfectly, like they'd been practicing for years. A few minutes later, the humans arrived on the bridge. There were 4 of them, led by a female with long dark hair tied back in a simple style. She was smaller than Captain Morrison, but she moved with the same quiet confidence that made Vextar nervous. "Commander Vextar," she said, stepping forward. "I'm First Officer Lisa Carter. Thank you for welcoming us aboard your ship." "The pleasure is ours," Vextar said, though he wasn't sure that was true. "Please, let me show you around." As they walked through the ship, Vextar pointed out various systems and explained how they worked. The humans listened politely and asked good questions. They seemed genuinely interested in Zilanian technology and culture, but Vexitar noticed things that worried him. The humans moved differently than Zilanians. Where his people flowed smoothly from place to place, the humans moved with purpose. Every step seemed planned. Every glance seemed to take in important information. One of the humans, introduced as Lieutenant Danny Torres, was looking at their communication systems. "This is very efficient," he said. "How do you handle secure military communications?" "Military communications?" Vextar was confused. "We don't have military communications. We're a peaceful people." The humans all looked at each other. Something passed between them. Some kind of silent understanding that made Vextar even more nervous. "You don't have a military?" Lisa Carter asked carefully. "Well, we have patrol ships for emergencies," Vextar explained. "But we haven't had a real war in over 1,000 years. Why would we need a military?" Again, that look passed between the humans. Lisa Carter smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's wonderful. Peace is a beautiful thing." But the way she said it made Vextar think that humans didn't know much about peace at all. As the tour continued, Cathari pulled Vextar aside. "Sir, I've been scanning their shuttle while they're here. And it's not just a shuttle, it's armed, heavily armed. That little transport ship could probably destroy one of our patrol vessels on its own." Vextar felt cold. "Are you sure?" "Positive." "And sir, if their shuttle is armed like that, what do you think their main ship can do?" Vextar looked back at the humans, who were admiring a piece of Zilanian art with what seemed like genuine appreciation. They looked so normal, so peaceful. But now he couldn't stop thinking about their ship, hanging in space near his fleet like a sleeping monster. The cultural exchange was going well, or at least Vextar thought it was until Lisa Carter started talking about human history. They were sitting in the conference room sharing food and stories about their homeworlds. The humans had brought some of their own food to try, and it was surprisingly good. "Earth sounds like a beautiful world," said Yelana. "Tell us about your people's past. How did you achieve such advanced technology?" Lisa Carter took a sip of the Zilanian drink they'd offered her. "Well, humans have always been competitive. We've had many conflicts over the years." "Conflicts?" Vextar asked. "You mean disagreements?" "I mean wars," Lisa said simply. The room went quiet. Wars were something Zilanians only read about in very old history books. The idea that these friendly humans had actually experienced war was hard to understand. "Wars are very rare, yes?" asked Cathari hopefully. "Something from your ancient past?" Lisa looked uncomfortable. "Actually, we had 2 major global wars just in the last century. World War I killed about 17 million people. World War II killed around 75 million. The numbers hit the Zilanians like a physical blow." Yelana made a choking sound. Cathari's face went pale. Vextar felt sick. 75 million, he whispered. "In one war?" "It was a very bad time," Lisa said quietly. "But we learned from it. We try to avoid such things now." "Try to avoid?" Rendall leaned forward. "You mean war is still possible for your people?" "Well, yes. Humans still have conflicts. We have soldiers and weapons and—" Lisa stopped when she saw their faces. "Are you all right?" Vextar couldn't speak. The idea that an entire species could kill 75 million of their own kind and then continue to exist was beyond his understanding. How were any humans left alive? "Perhaps we should talk about something else," said another human, a man named Ryan Brooks. "What do your people do for fun?" Vextar was grateful for the change of subject. "We enjoy music, art, mathematics. We have games of skill and thinking. What about humans?" "Oh, lots of things," Lisa said, seeming more relaxed. "Sports are very popular." "Sports?" Yelana asked. "Competitive activities like boxing, 2 people fight until one can't continue. Or football, where teams try to control territory and push the other team back." The Zilanians stared at her. "People Fight for fun? Cathari asked slowly. It's not real fighting, Ryan Brooks explained. Well, boxing is, but there are rules. Usually nobody gets seriously hurt. Usually? Vextar felt that sick feeling again. We also like movies, Lisa continued, not noticing their horror. Stories told with pictures. Action movies are very popular. Stories about heroes fighting villains with explosions and battles. You watch violence for entertainment? Rendall asked. It's not real violence, Lisa said. It's pretend. Although some people like war movies, based on real battles. Those can be pretty intense. Vextar had to put his head in his hands. These humans watched recordings of their own wars for fun. What kind of species did that? Danny Torres, the communications officer, tried to help. We also like video games. Interactive stories where you control a character. What kind of stories? Yelena asked weakly. All kinds. Adventure games, puzzle games, strategy games where you command armies. You command armies for fun? Cathari interrupted. Sure. You try to outsmart your opponent, capture territory, manage resources. It's all about tactics and planning. The Zilanians looked at each other in growing horror. These humans didn't just accept violence. They celebrated it. They made entertainment out of it. They practiced it in games and sports. I think, Vextar said carefully, our species are very different. That's what makes this so interesting, Lisa said with a smile. We can learn so much from each other. But Vextar was starting to think that maybe some things were better left unlearned. The conversation continued, and each new piece of information made things worse. Humans had something called martial arts, entire systems designed around fighting. They had competitions where people tried to hurt each other in creative ways. They had schools where children learned about famous battles and studied military strategy. Don't your people have any peaceful activities? Yelena asked desperately. Of course, Lisa said. We love music, art, literature. We explore space, study science, build beautiful cities. This should have been comforting. But then Danny Torres added, of course, a lot of our best music is about love and war. And some of our greatest art was inspired by conflict. And our literature. Well, every good story needs some kind of struggle or fight. Even their peaceful activities were touched by violence. Vextar wondered if humans could think about anything without relating it to conflict somehow. What about your military? Ryan Brooks asked. How do you organize your space forces? We don't have space forces, Vextar said. We have patrol ships and rescue vessels, but no military. The humans all went quiet again. Vextar was getting tired of that look they shared whenever he said something that surprised them. No military at all? Lisa asked. What do you do if someone attacks you? Nobody attacks us, Rendall said. Why would they? But what if they did? Ryan pressed. What if hostile aliens invaded your space? We would negotiate, find a peaceful solution, offer them what they wanted if it was reasonable. And if negotiation failed? Vextar had never really thought about it. I suppose we would ask the Galactic Council for help. And if the Council couldn't help? The question hung in the air. Vextar realized he had no answer. The Zilanians had never needed to think about such things. In their part of the galaxy, everyone was civilized. Everyone preferred peace, I see, Lisa said quietly. That's actually very admirable. Your people have achieved something wonderful. But she didn't sound like she thought it was wonderful. She sounded like she thought it was dangerous. Tell me, she continued. Have you ever encountered the Krex? The Krex? Vextar knew that name. The Raiders. Yes, they've been causing trouble in this sector. But they avoid our space. We're not worth bothering with. What do you mean? We don't have anything they want. No rare metals, no strategic locations. They prefer to attack traders and mining colonies. So you just let them raid other people? Vexitar felt defensive. It's not our responsibility. We can't fight everyone else's battles. No, Lisa said softly. I suppose you can't. But the way she said it made Vextar feel like a coward. And the worst part was, he was starting to think she might be right. Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system, calm and professional. "Commander Vextar, I hope you don't mind, but we'd like to run some routine training exercises. We've been in space for several weeks, and the crew needs to stay sharp." Vextar looked at Lisa Carter, who was still on his bridge. "Training exercises?" "Standard stuff," she said with a shrug. "Navigation drills, weapons practice, damage control. Nothing fancy." "Weapons practice?" The words made Vextar nervous. "Don't worry, we'll use asteroids for targets. No danger to your ships." Before Vextar could respond, the Iron Wolf began to move. The Zilanian commander had seen many ships in his life, but he had never seen anything move like this. The human vessel didn't just turn. It flowed through space like a living thing. Every movement was precise and graceful, but somehow threatening at the same time. "How do they maneuver? Like that?" Rendall whispered from his tactical station. Lisa heard him. "Practice," she said simply. "Jake, Captain Morrison, has been flying ships for 20 years. His crew has been together for 5 years. They know their ship like their own bodies." The Iron Wolf approached a cluster of asteroids about 10 kilometers away. Vextar watched. On his main screen, as the human ship positioned itself carefully, "Beginning weapons test," came Morrison's voice. What happened next made every Zilanian on the bridge jump back from their stations. Beams of energy lanced out from the Iron Wolf, with incredible precision. The first asteroid, roughly 50 meters across, simply vanished in a flash of light. "Impressive," Vextar said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Your weapons are very powerful." "That was our lightest setting," Lisa said casually. "We saved the heavy guns for serious threats." The Iron Wolf moved to the next asteroid. This time, instead of destroying it completely, the ship carved it into precise geometric shapes. Cubes, spheres, and pyramids fell away from the main rock with surgical accuracy. "Why are they doing that?" Cathari asked. "Precision training," Lisa explained. "Sometimes you need to disable something without destroying it. Sometimes you need to remove a specific threat while leaving everything else untouched." The ship moved again, faster this time. It spun and rolled through space in ways that made Vextar dizzy just watching. At the same time, it continued firing at asteroids with perfect accuracy. Not a single shot missed, even while the ship was tumbling through complex maneuvers. "How is this possible?" Yelena breathed. "Computer assistance helps," Ryan Brooks said. He was watching the display with obvious pride. "But mostly it's training. Human reflexes are pretty good, and we've learned to work with our machines instead of just depending on them." "Combat maneuvering drill complete," Morrison's voice announced. "Beginning point defense exercise." "Point defense?" Vextar asked. "Protection against incoming missiles or fighters," Lisa explained. "We'll launch some practice drones and shoot them down." Small objects began launching from the Iron Wolf. They moved fast, twisting and turning as they tried to approach the ship from different angles. Vextar counted at least 20 of them. Then the human ship's defensive systems came online. The space around the Iron Wolf filled with streaks of light as automated weapons tracked and destroyed the incoming drones. It was like watching lightning, but lightning that could think and aim. Every drone was destroyed within seconds, no matter how fast it moved or how clever its approach. 97% success rate, Danny Torres reported, reading from a small device. "Not bad, but Captain Morrison will want to run that drill again later." "Not bad," Rendall's voice cracked. "They destroyed almost every target." "Almost isn't good enough in real combat," Lisa said seriously. "One missile getting through could kill hundreds of people." The casual way she talked about hundreds of deaths made Vextar feel cold inside. "Damage control drill next," Morrison announced. "What does that mean?" Vextar asked, though he was afraid to know. "We simulate battle damage and practice fixing it quickly," Ryan explained. On the screen, parts of the Iron Wolf began flashing red. Vextar's instruments detected massive power fluctuations coming from the human ship. It looked like the vessel was tearing itself apart. "Are they in danger?" Cathari asked urgently. "No. They're doing this on purpose, Lisa said calmly. They're overloading systems and then repairing them as fast as possible. It teaches the crew to work under pressure. Vextar watched in horror as the humans deliberately broke their own ship and then fixed it. They cut power to engines, overloaded weapon systems, and shut down life support in various sections. Each time, the crew repaired the damage in minutes. Why? Would you practice breaking your own ship? Yelena asked. Because in a real fight the ship will get damaged, Ryan said. Enemy weapons will hit us, systems will fail. We need to be able to keep fighting even when everything is going wrong. The idea that humans expected their ships to be damaged in battle was terrifying to the Zilanians. Their own ships were designed to avoid conflict entirely. The thought of deliberately building something to survive being hurt was alien to them. Hull breach drill, Morrison announced. Part of the Iron Wolf actually opened to space. Vextar could see atmosphere venting out in a white cloud, but within moments the breach was sealed and the lost air was being replaced. They opened their ship to vacuum, Cathari said in shock. Emergency repair training, Lisa explained. If you wait for a real emergency to practice, people die. Amy Watson's voice came over the communication channel. She was apparently the human engineer. Hull breach sealed, atmosphere restored, all systems green. Time, 4 minutes, 37 seconds. Not your best time, Amy, Morrison replied. Sorry, Captain, I'll do better next time. They were apologizing for taking less than 5 minutes to repair a hole in their spaceship. While in vacuum, Vextar didn't know what to say. Final exercise, Morrison announced. Combat drone deployment. The Iron Wolf opened several ports along its hull. Small fighters began emerging, dozens of them. They formed up in perfect formation and began flying complex patterns around the main ship. Those are beautiful, Yelena said, watching the graceful movements. They're also completely automated, Danny said. Each one is armed and armored. They can operate independently for hours. Automated weapons? Vextar felt sick again. It's safer for our people, Lisa explained. Instead of risking human pilots, we send machines to do the dangerous work. The drones performed aerial ballet for several minutes, then returned to their ship. The entire exercise had taken less than an hour, but Vextar felt like he had aged years. Very impressive, he managed to say. Basic stuff, Lisa said with a smile. You should see what we can do when we're actually trying. Vexitar really hoped he would never have to. The cultural exchange continued into the next day, but Vextar found himself dreading each new piece of information about humanity. Danny Torres had brought historical records to share, and each story was worse than the last. This is the Battle of Gettysburg, Danny said, showing images on a portable screen. From our American Civil War. About 50,000 casualties in 3 days. Vextar stared at the images of ancient human soldiers with primitive weapons. 50,000? In 3 days? It was one of the bloodier battles, Danny admitted. But it helped end slavery in our country, so most people think it was worth it. Worth it. 50,000 dead, and they thought it was worth it. Vextar couldn't understand how humans could think that way. Tell me about a more recent battle, Cathari said. She seemed fascinated by human warfare in a horrified way. Danny scrolled through his files. Here's the Battle of Stalingrad from World War II. The fighting lasted about 6 months. Total casualties were around 2 million. The number was so large that Vextar's mind refused to accept it. 2 million people, dead in one battle, in 6 months. How many people live on Earth? Yelena asked weakly. About 8 billion now, Lisa answered. And you fought wars that killed millions of your own people? Many wars, Ryan confirmed. Humans have been fighting each other for as long as we have records. Maybe longer. But why? Rendall asked. Why would you kill your own species? Lisa thought about this for a moment. Resources, territory, religion, politics, revenge. Sometimes we fought because someone else attacked us first. Sometimes we fought because we wanted what they had. Sometimes we fought because we believed different things about how people should live. Did you ever try to talk instead of fighting? Of course. But talking doesn't always work. Some people can't be reasoned with. Some people only understand. Strength. Dr. Kate Phillips, the human medical officer, had joined them that morning. She seemed quieter than the others, but when she spoke, her words were just as disturbing. "Would you like to know about human biology?" she asked pleasantly. "Yes, please," Cathari said. "We're very interested in other species." "Humans are persistence, hunters," Kate explained. "We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We can run for hours without stopping. Most animals are faster than us, but we don't give up." The idea of hunting something to death through pure stubbornness made Vextar uncomfortable. "We also have interesting responses to danger," Kate continued. "When humans are threatened, our bodies produce chemicals that make us stronger, faster, and less sensitive to pain. We call it the fight-or-flight response." "Fight or flight?" Yelena asked. "Either run away or attack. Most animals just run. Humans often choose to fight, especially if we're protecting something important." "So when humans are scared, they become more dangerous?" "Much more dangerous. Fear and anger make us think faster and hit harder. It's not always rational, but it's very effective." Kate pulled up medical scans on her device. "Human bodies are also built with redundancy. We have 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, backup circulation systems. We can lose quite a bit of blood and keep functioning. We can survive injuries that would kill most species." "Why would you evolve to survive injuries?" Cathari asked. "Because our ancestors got injured a lot," Kate said simply. "Hunting is dangerous. Fighting is dangerous. Only the ones who could survive damage lived long enough to have children." The conversation was interrupted by an alarm on the Zelanian bridge. Rendall checked his instruments and went pale. "Sir, we have ships approaching. 3 vessels coming in fast." "Identification?" Vextar asked. "Krex raiders, sir. They're heading straight for us." Vextar felt his stomach drop. The Krex were violent pirates who attacked anyone they thought was weak. Usually they avoided Zelanian space, but maybe the presence of unknown ships had attracted their attention. "Signal the fleet to withdraw," Vextar ordered. "We'll retreat to the inner system and call for help." "Commander," Lisa said quietly, "may I suggest another option?" "What do you mean?" "Let us handle this." Vextar stared at her. "There are 3 Krex destroyers. Your ship is alone." "Yes," Lisa said. "That seems about right." Before Vextar could argue, Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system. "Commander Vexitar, we're detecting hostile ships approaching your position. Please move your fleet to a safe distance. We'll take care of this." "Captain Morrison, there are 3 enemy ships." "I know. We can see them on our sensors. Don't worry, Commander. This is what we do." The Iron Wolf began moving toward the approaching Krex ships. The human vessel didn't hurry or show any signs of panic. It just moved forward steadily, like it was going to meet friends instead of enemies. "Are they insane?" Rendall whispered. "No," Lisa said calmly. "They're professionals." The Krex ships were spreading out, trying to surround the lone human vessel. They were larger than the Iron Wolf and heavily armed. Each one was designed for raiding and piracy. Together they should have been able to destroy any single ship. Should have been. "Chris Allen to bridge," came a voice over the human communication channel. "Target locks acquired. Ready to engage." "Jake Morrison here. You are authorized to engage. Disable if possible. Destroy if necessary." "Understood, Captain. Engaging now." What happened next was not a battle. It was art. The Iron Wolf moved between the 3 Krex ships like a dancer. Weapons fire from the raiders passed harmlessly by as the human ship twisted and turned through space. But every shot from the Iron Wolf hit its target with perfect precision. The first Krex ship lost its weapons within seconds. Precise energy. Beams cut through armor and destroyed gun emplacements without touching anything else. The ship was still intact, still flying, but completely helpless. The second raider tried to ram the human vessel. The Iron Wolf simply moved aside at the last second and fired a single shot that crippled the Krex ship's engines. The raider went spinning helplessly through space. The third ship tried to run. It lasted almost 30 seconds before the Iron Wolf caught up with it and disabled its drive systems with surgical precision. "Engagement complete," Chris Allen reported. 3 enemy vessels disabled. No casualties on either side. Total time, 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Vexitar stared at the tactical display. 3 Krex destroyers, ships that had terrorized. This sector for months had been completely defeated in less than 4 minutes. And the humans had done it without killing anyone. How? He whispered. Training, Lisa said. Experience, and the knowledge that sometimes violence is the only thing that stops more violence. But you didn't destroy them. We didn't need to. The goal was to stop the threat, not to kill people. Humans prefer to win without unnecessary death when possible. But you could have destroyed them? Lisa looked at him with those calm human eyes. Commander, we could have destroyed all 3 ships in the first 10 seconds if we wanted to. We chose not to. The idea that humans had that much power but chose to use restraint was somehow more terrifying than if they had just been mindlessly violent. Captain Morrison to Commander Vexitar. The human's voice came over the communication system. The immediate threat has been neutralized. The Krex crews are alive, but their ships are disabled. You might want to call for pickup ships to arrest them. Thank you, Captain, Vexitar managed to say. No problem, Commander. This is what neighbors do for each other. Neighbors. The humans thought of themselves as neighbors. Neighbors who could destroy 3 warships without breaking a sweat, but neighbors nonetheless. Vexitar was beginning to understand that humans were the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. But maybe, if they were very lucky, they might also be the most useful friends the Zilanians could have. 3 hours after the battle with the Krex raiders, Vexitar sat in his private quarters trying to write his report. How could he explain what he had witnessed? How could he make the Confederation Council understand what humanity represented? He had tried writing the truth, that humans were a species who had perfected warfare and could destroy enemies with frightening ease. But that sounded like the ravings of someone who had been traumatized by violence. He had tried writing about human kindness, how they had spared the Krex crews and offered friendship to the Zilanians, but that didn't capture the quiet terror of watching the Iron Wolf dismantle 3 warships like they were toys. A soft chime told him that Lisa Carter was requesting permission to enter his quarters. He granted it, and the human woman stepped inside. Commander, I wanted to check on you before we leave, she said. You seem troubled by what happened today. Troubled? Vexitar laughed, but there was no humor in it. Your people just changed everything and you want to know if I'm troubled? Lisa sat down across from him. I think I understand. You're realizing that the galaxy isn't as safe as you thought it was. No, Vexitar said. I'm realizing that my people aren't as safe as we thought we were. The Krex have been raiding this sector for months. We knew about it, but we did nothing because they weren't bothering us directly. And now I know that the only reason they weren't bothering us was because they didn't think we were worth the effort. If they had wanted to, they could have destroyed our entire fleet. Lisa nodded. Probably. But they didn't. Because we're not important enough. Because we have nothing they want. Vexitar stood up and began pacing. Do you know what that makes us? Irrelevant. We're so weak that even pirates ignore us. You're not weak, Lisa said quietly. You're peaceful. There's a difference. Is there? Your people are strong enough to enforce peace. My people can only hope that everyone else chooses to be peaceful too. Lisa was quiet for a moment. You're right, she said finally. Peace without the strength to defend it is just hoping that everyone else will be nice to you. And hoping isn't a strategy. So what do? Become warriors like you? You could try, but that would take generations and it would change who you are as a people. Maybe there's another way. What do you mean? Lisa smiled. Allies, Commander. Friends who watch out for each other. The idea was tempting, but Vexitar was smart enough to see the problems. What would we offer in return? We have no weapons, no military. What good are we as allies? You have things we need. Information about this part of the galaxy. Safe ports for our ships. Trade opportunities. And most importantly, you have perspective. Perspective? Humans are good at fighting, but we're not always good at knowing when to stop. We could use friends who understand peace better than we do. Before Vextar could respond, his communication system activated. Sir, came Yelana's voice, we're receiving a priority message from the Confederation Council. Put it through to my quarters, Vextar said. The holographic image of Council Leader Nethara appeared in the room. Her usually calm face looked worried. Commander Vextar, we've received preliminary reports about your encounter with unknown aliens. Please provide a full briefing immediately. Vextar glanced at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. Council Leader, the aliens are humans from a planet called Earth. They appear to be militarily advanced. Militarily advanced? Nethara's expression grew more concerned. Are they hostile? No, Council Leader, they claim to be peaceful explorers. They have been helpful and friendly. But you said militarily advanced. That seems contradictory. Vexitar took a deep breath. Council Leader, these humans defeated 3 Krex destroyers in less than 4 minutes, with 1 ship. The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds. That's impossible, Nethara said finally. I watched it happen, Council Leader. Their technology is far beyond anything we've encountered. And they're peaceful? They didn't have to be. They could have destroyed the Krex ships completely, but they chose to disable them instead. They could have ignored our situation entirely, but they chose to help. Another long pause. Commander, return to the homeworld immediately. Bring detailed sensor logs of everything. And invite the humans to accompany you. Invite them? If they're as powerful as you say, we need to understand them. And if they're truly peaceful, we need to be their friends. The transmission ended. Lisa looked amused. I think your Council Leader is smarter than you give her credit for. What do you mean? She understood immediately what you took hours to figure out. If humans are too dangerous to fight and too useful to ignore, then the only sensible option is to be their allies. Over the next few days, the journey to the Zilanian homeworld gave Vextar time to think. The Iron Wolf traveled with his fleet, and he spent hours talking with Captain Morrison and his crew. They were surprisingly normal people when they weren't demonstrating their ability to destroy things, but even their normal conversations revealed how different they were. They talked casually about combat tactics the way Zilanians discussed art. They mentioned friends who had died in battles like Zilanians might mention friends who had moved to other cities, or was so much a part of their culture that they didn't even notice it anymore. When they reached the Zilanian homeworld, the human ship caused quite a stir. Thousands of civilian vessels surrounded it at a respectful distance, trying to get a look at the aliens. News reports were broadcasting continuously. The meeting with the council went better than Vextar had expected. Captain Morrison was charming and diplomatic. He spoke about friendship and mutual cooperation. He offered to share some human technology and knowledge, but Vexitar noticed that he never offered to share military technology. The humans were willing to be friends, but they weren't willing to arm potential enemies. After the formal meetings, Vextar found himself alone with Council Leader Nethara. Your report was illuminating, she said carefully. I tried to be accurate. You were. Perhaps too accurate. Do you realize what you've done? I've made contact with a new species. You've discovered that we live in a universe where someone, like the Krex, could destroy our entire civilization if they chose to. And you've also discovered that there are people strong enough to stop them. Vextar nodded. What do? We adapt. We learn. We become better than we were. You mean we militarize? I mean we grow up. We've been children playing in a safe playground, never realizing that there were dangerous neighborhoods just outside the fence. Now we know better. And the humans? The humans are going to change everything. Not just for us, but for everyone. Word of this will spread. Every species in the galaxy will want to know about the newcomers who can destroy 3 warships in 4 minutes. Nethara walked to the window and looked out at the human ship floating peacefully in orbit. Some species will want to be their friends, others will see them as threats to be eliminated, and a few will try to use them as weapons against their enemies. What do you think will happen? I think the galaxy just became a much more interesting place, and I think we need to decide very quickly which side of history we want to be on. 3 months later, Vexitar stood on the bridge of a new ship. It was still Zelanian in design, still peaceful in purpose. But it had better shields, stronger engines, and yes, weapons. Not much by human standards, but enough to make pirates think twice. The Iron Wolf was long gone, continuing its mission of exploration and diplomacy. But other human ships had followed, and the galaxy was learning to adjust to their presence. Some things had changed for the better. Piracy was down in systems where humans patrolled. Trade was up between species who felt safer traveling. Several old conflicts had been resolved when both sides realized that continuing to fight might attract human attention. Other things were more worrying. 3 species had approached the Confederation asking for help in building weapons. 2 others had formed a military alliance specifically to prepare for the human threat. The Galactic Council was debating new laws about military technology, but Vexitar had learned something important about humans during those 3 months. They didn't want to conquer the galaxy. They didn't want to rule over other species. They just wanted to explore, to learn, and to be left alone to do it peacefully. The problem was that peace, as the humans understood it, required the ability to enforce it. And enforcement required strength. The galaxy was learning to be strong. Whether that was good or bad remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. No one would ever again have to watch helplessly while pirates raided innocent ships. Time of hoping that bullies would be nice was over. The age of peace through strength had begun.